Well, she was famously dubbed the singing budgie. And no matter how many times she's proved otherwise, there remains this residual perception that our Kylie Minogue cannot sing. And for fans like me, it's frustrating and it's exhausting. I mean, how many times do I have to force my family to watch Kylie performing Come On Strong just to prove my point? So, what is the truth here after 30 years in the business? Can Kylie sing or can't she? Am I just a deluded fan? It's time to get a definitive answer on this, and it's my absolute pleasure to introduce a special treat tonight. We're talking to one of YouTube's most popular personalities, the lovely Georgina Hill Brown, otherwise known as the Honest Vocal Coach. Welcome, Georgina.
Hi there.
I feel like I know you so well from your channel. I watch you like every second day. It's an absolute pleasure. And congratulations on passing 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, thank you very much. It takes quite a lot of hard work, I must say. There are few people who say that, YouTube's not a real thing and you just get these likes as a fluke. But no, it really takes a lot of hard work to understand how it works and constant uploading. I've been doing 5 videos a week since I began, which is 2 years ago now. So
Yeah.
I've really been pumping out the content for that length of time. And it's hard because there's days when you think, what am I going to talk about today? What's the next thing? It's having to know everything about the music industry as well. What's the next big single that's coming out? Whose video's next? And all of those things. So it is quite a lot of hard work, but I am enjoying building a community of people who, just enjoy singing and like my opinion.
And it's a community that loves you very much because you are so honest and so real. Like, I just feel like I'm in your home with you when I'm watching it. It's a lovely thing. For those who haven't seen your channel, check it out, The Honest Vocal Coach. It's a fantastic channel. Subscribe. Okay, so Georgina, you're a Brit. So by
Yes.
default, you must love Kylie. I believe it's the law over there now that you have to love Kylie. But Georgina, can Kylie sing?
Oh, serious question straight away. Yeah, she can sing. I think both sisters can sing, but Kylie is the stronger vocalist out of the two, I think. I think probably because Danny doesn't get enough, you know, opportunities to sing now. But yeah, Kylie can definitely sing, but she does have a distinctive voice, which I find is a little bit can't say it, marmite for some people. They, absolutely love her voice and some don't. I mean, like you said early on in the introduction, they said that she sounded like a budgie. In the UK, some have said that she sounds like a chipmunk because her voice is so highly toned. But yes, she can definitely sing. Her voice has changed over the years from sort of that young voice to something more mature. She really understands the range that she has. And even in the new single that I listened to again this morning, and there's a lot of layering of the vocals. And I'm also noticing that she's loosening off her diction a little bit, almost like the Ariana Grande style, where
Yeah.
the clarity of the lyrics is not there as much as it used to be. And I think that's for a style choice rather than she's just being lazy with addiction, because that's normally what it is.
And definitely a style choice because Kylie's actually expressed many times over the years that she quite prides herself on getting her diction correctly. I think that's from living over there for so long. Talk us through it. You are actually a vocal coach for those who aren't aware of that. This isn't just a YouTube channel. You actually do this as a profession. From a technical point of view, how do you describe Kylie's voice? Like, what's the technical terminology for it, if there is any?
Well, in terms of sort of classical classification, her voice for me would be sort of mezzo soprano, so mid range.
Mm.
She's not, the highest singer in the world, or indeed the lowest singer. So she's got a nice mid range tone. But there is a distinctive difference between when she belts and when she goes into a head voice, and she's kept that over the years because she knows that it really adds to the music. So she can create just different tonal qualities, so it's not the same throughout. Because some
Yeah.
singers realize that, they've got a powerful belty voice and they do that for everything. But she's tried to keep that heady tone there, so it has a just a more interesting part of her voice. I think Christina's done a similar thing. She often belts, does Christina, but when she does use a head voice, it has a very sort of innocent kind of sweetness to it, and it adds depending on what song, what the song's about that she's singing.
Yeah, and I describe it as an authenticity, because I've got to say I've been a fan forever, before she began singing, and as a fan I've loved listening, and I've been very fascinated to watch the evolution of Kylie's voice, as you referred to before, the days when she would actually lip sync. By the way, people listening, that's because she had to, not because she was scared. Top of the Pops, it was just the done thing. And then her first fully live vocals in Japan when she first went on tour, it was sort of a bit of a test outing for her touring. And those vocals were way too shouty. Anyone who can get the not dubbed version of On the Go and look that up. It's not terrible, but yeah, she's shouting, she's dancing, she's got no refinement at all. But within months of that tour, I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe she watched herself back. She'd really refined the voice by the time she got to Australia for the Enjoy Yourself tour. You've noticed that evolution too, Georgina?
Yeah, it's actually quite a normal thing for a singer, that, because
Ah,
when you first start singing with a band, with a massive sort of arenas and things like that, and you've got the sound coming at you from all different angles, you've got massive drum kit behind you, and you've got all of
mm,
the band there. There's a feeling that you have to sing as loud, if not louder than that, so that you can be heard. And a lot of singers do. They don't realise that they're mixed within that. Think of it as
and
sort
the
of a colour
microphone
palette.
can do the job, right?
Yeah, and they're mixed within that. But early on, most singers do it. I know I did, especially in the first so many songs in the concert. The adrenaline kicks in. And
Yeah.
sometimes the technique goes out the window because you're so excited and you're loving it and you're sort
Hmm.
of aware of your surroundings, and you kind of over push and you don't realize until you look back at it and think, oh my goodness, what was I doing?
But what I
And
love about Kylie's vocals when she was just shouting, I often watch them like with my kids, and they're looking at me like, wow, she's really just screaming here. But you can't. Voice is one thing, but in performance, like the energy, you can't compensate for that little girl who was running from left to right and back and forth and up and down. She was just having a great time. So I don't care about the voice in those early days, funnily enough.
yeah, I think technique wise, she didn't really have that much. Sorry,
No.
Kylie, but she probably didn't have that much technique at that point anyway. So she
Yeah.
was learning about her own voice, knowing what her limitations were, and just understanding volumes. And since she started to now, there's been so much change in general
Mm.
technology and sound systems, from inner ear to, Autotune and all of those things. So initially, she just been loving it and just do it. Let's go. Let's belt it out.
Exactly. I wish she'd
Um,
just bring back a bit of balance sometimes, Georgina, frankly, because sometimes I think she's getting way too technically perfect. Some fans like me, right, they've been on the journey and they yearn for the days when Kylie used voice during her intimate and live tour. Now, I'm
yeah.
not sure if you're aware of it. It was quite deep and it had such a resonance. It came from within the body rather than the higher voice. Can you explain why a singer might completely ditch a certain way of singing, as Kylie did around the year 2000, and in her case, go from a very chesty, deep voice to quite a high pitched tone? I mean, is this something to do with preserving the voice? Like, why would she do that?
I don't think in her case it was to do with preserving the voice. I think it was knowing the style of music she wanted to move into, because there was
Ah,
definitely a period of the sort of the indie alternative style that she had.
yes, yes.
Around, the In Excess, the relationship with him, and all of that, I think, affected the music she was making. And the music she was making needed that lower tone to just to come across well. And then when she wanted to move into more commercial pop again, it just generally is higher, and she's probably had to shift to that. So I think it's the music that's driven it, not necessarily her choice vocally.
What a fascinating insight. So the music that drove it, probably. Wow, that's interesting. I'd say only hardcore fans would notice that difference, but it was quite significant. Like, and it was very sudden from intimate and live to light years era. And it was a very permanent change, as it turned out. She hasn't really moved from that. Georgina, why does Kylie get such a bad rap as a singer? I mean, is this a hangover from the days when she did mime, or where she was indeed a product of Stock Aitken and Waterman? Was it because people said Rick Astley used to sing all her records? Or is genuinely her voice unpleasant for some people? Why does she get such a bad rap?
I think, yes, the fact that she was with Stock Aitken and Waterman early on, there is a little bit of a, I don't know what the word would be, but there is a thing about
Yeah.
being manufactured, because they were churning out loads of things. There was not just Kylie, there was Sonia, Banana Armour, Jason,
Mel and Kim.
and Mel and Kim, and oh my god, there was a lot of them that weren't great. Let's be honest, and it was about their fame. PWL at the time, Stock Aitken and Waterman, wanted to use that fame to sort of build their own record label. So I think at the beginning it did feel like very manufactured. It's only as she got past that sort of first album did she come into her own. So I think there's a little bit of that, but also her voice is very distinctive and it is a particular sound. Shakira is another one, very distinctive, particular sound. Some people like it, some people don't. And it's not necessarily that she can't sing, it's just that they have their own opinion. I mean, Kylie is
Georgina,
not. Sorry, go on.
Sorry to interrupt. You said she's got quite thin because she's small, very petite. Is that
Yes.
that affects the voice, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. She's very small, so she's going to have a more shallow, not shallow, that's possibly the wrong word, but a more high toned vocal because she doesn't have, she's got a big built body to have the depth. So naturally she's going to have that high tone to her.
And very delicate little nasal tubes, I'd imagine too, which probably have something to do with it.
And also with Kylie, she's not a riffer. She's not a Beyonce, let's riff through all the notes. She's very much about the story of the song and sort of singing the words rather than thinking I'm just going to randomly riff because I can. And I think in this sort of generation we're in now, I find this a lot on my channel that a younger audience, some of my subscribers would say that Kylie's not very good because she doesn't riff like Beyonce or like Mariah or whatever. They kind of rate singers on how well they can riff and show off their range.
Like Ariana.
Yes, absolutely. And I disagree with that. I think there is a lot more to singing than just being able to riff up the scales. It's about the music itself and emotionally connecting with what you're singing about. And one thing I was taught years and years ago when I started in the industry was that song is king. You can have the best voice in the world, but if the song is dreadful, it makes no difference. So with Kylie,
and she's been lucky there, hasn't she? She's been lucky there.
Made sure she's got great songs.
Professional opinion here, Georgina. Answer this once and forever. Does she use Autotune live?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Every time I've seen her live, I've not noticed any Autotune at all. I know that there is extra reverb and delay, a bit of echo. Most likely there's some kind of EQ there. So looking at her vocal tone to make it fill out so it sort of fills a room and syncs in with the band, etc. But in terms of Autotune, no, it's a distinctive sound and I don't feel she uses that. I do think it's been used on some of her music, but it has become, okay to do that. It's become the norm. Even I do it when I'm about to put a record out for maybe one of the people I'm working with. I will check through the tuning with Autotune just to check everything's, the best it can be. Because there are times that if you put a track out without Autotune, you'll be like shouted at for that. Why didn't you do it? Why is it not on? because
Yes, and why is it not
it's
perfect? Which, by the way, is why Kylie's Abbey Road sessions was actually given a lot of credit because they did choose to leave some of those imperfect moments. There's a few crackles at the end of Never Too Late, for example. But I also want to just correct a myth here too that's out there. Autotune is not a new thing. Barbara Streisand specifically said she didn't perform for years and years and years. We all know because she was very nervous to get on stage. But part of it, a huge part of it, was that her records were made to make her sound as best as she could, as you would expect, not necessarily
yeah.
with autotune, but with the techniques they had at the time. And she has said many times, I couldn't bear to bring myself to stand on the stage and not sound as good as my records. So I guess what I'm saying is modern pop stars didn't invent this trend, if you want to call it that, of perfecting the voice. It's been around for as long as recordings have.
Yeah, I just think in the generations that it is now, it's become more normalized,
Yes.
talked about a lot more, and there's also a lot of artists out there that are really not very good, and they rely
Pharrell.
on Autotune. Yeah, these people who, Drake, artists like that,
Mm,
their whole song is literally auto-tuned to death.
mm.
will.i.am, another one, because it's part of the style of the music.
I almost fell off my chair the first time I heard Pharrell sing Happy live without apparently auto-tune. At least I really was like, oh, I thought he was so talented. And he is. He's a great songwriter. I just want people listening to this to know with Kylie, go and look up a few things for me. You can tell I'm just going to turn into a raving little fan for a second. Just forgive me. Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. Come On Strong. Your Disco Needs You, a cappella. There's a track, Automatic Love, that she sang live using her chest voice actually on a European show back in the day. Go and listen to her. She absolutely is so brave and courageous to go on, and she just has the mic, she just has a band, and she can do it. She really can. Georgina, can I just take you really briefly through some thoughts that were posted on the internet, okay, by Average Joes? This was on a
Yeah.
forum. The question was, can Kylie sing? Here's some of the comments that were made. Her voice is below average, actually, not a natural singer's voice at all. She's just learned to use it for the intended purpose, which is electronic dance pop. Second comment here, her vocals are average, but people like her because she's a genuine person and she's done a lot for her fans. This one really bothers me, Georgina. Props to her. She's made a lot out of very little. For goodness
Ooh.
sake. Let me leave you on a high, though. This is Steve Anderson, the legendary Stephen Anderson. He was asked Kylie's voice. He's worked with her for years, and he is extraordinary as a musician. Every time I hear him doing anything, I get very excited. He's so talented. He said, the biggest misconception is whenever anyone has a go at her voice, which always annoys me, as she has the most recognizable tone-complete power mixed with beautiful subtlety. It's pretty much pitch perfect and has the one thing that so many people don't, which is believability. Every vocal I've ever recorded with Kylie, I've ended up using one take with maybe a line from another, but it's all there. When she is in the moment, literally, it's like the magic flying about all over the place and on stage. It simply doesn't get any better. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think that's lovely. I think it's partly because of, the production. People don't understand what goes into making the music and what it's like to stand in the room with the singer and really hear that emotion come through and every little colour come through in their voice, all of the textures.
Mm, mm.
And it's so lovely that he feels her singing when he's stood with her. It affects him, and
Yes.
that's the best singers in the world for me. It's something I've taught to my students for years that on one hand, you have to have technical ability. On the other hand, you have to have emotional connection. If you're not connecting with what you're singing about, you may as well just be singing the phone book. And you've got to, it's almost like being an actress in that you are allowing your inner emotions come through with your singing. You're feeling what you're singing about. And Kylie has that ability, and there's not many people that do. And it's the ones that are able to do that stay doing what they love for the longest. People
Mm.
like Kylie, Cher, Tina Turner, the singers that have been around for years. You distinctively know it's her when you listen on the radio, and you feel it. It takes you on a
Mm.
journey, and that's the purpose at the end of the day.
And you do that so well too, Georgina. When you do the odd track on your channel, you absolutely live in that moment as well. It's beautiful to watch. Final cheeky thoughts, Georgina, if you don't mind. If you put Kylie up against Madonna, who's got the stronger voice?
Oh, Kylie easily.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sorry, Madonna fans. If we were looking
Yes.
if we were looking at the era of when she was in Evita, I would definitely say Madonna at that time because she had a lot of vocal training and her
Sensational.
voice massively improved. But
Mm,
now Madonna's voice is a tool as part of the music. It's not her number one thing. Whereas I think with Kylie, she understands the package more. And
mm,
she makes sure she looks after everything. Whereas Madonna, she's more issue based now. The
yeah.
songs are about other things than the usual love or
I
falling out
also
with
don't think she's
the boyfriend.
taken care of her voice either. Frankly,
No, not
I
at
love
all.
Madonna. I'm a big fan, but there's something has degraded about the live voice, at least.
Yeah, definitely. Over the last, I would say, sort of 5 to 10 years, Madonna's voice unfortunately has
Mm,
um, definitely gone downhill. And I think she's had a lot going on in her life. Doesn't mean I
yeah.
don't like her anymore. I still think she's a phenomenal artist. I'll
Oh,
always
she's
be a
wonderful.
massive Madonna fan. But where she is now vocally is very, very different to what she used to be. So if you had to sort of
Kylie,
rank them together now, Kylie would be the stronger out of the two.
Kylie up against Britney.
Oh, it would be Kylie again, purely because Britney's
Yes.
been put on a level where she has to use this baby voice. It's part of her style, and to consistently do that, it really takes its toll on the voice. The constant vocal fry that she has to use, and the kind of high tones, oh baby, baby, all of that, it
Mm,
tenses the larynx and it does create strain. And over years, it deteriorates the voice a little bit. Whereas Kylie's not had to do that, so again, she's probably got better technique right now.
Kylie against Mariah.
Oh, sorry, Mariah wins.
Of
So
course she
sorry,
does.
Tyler. Well, it's for me. I think Mariah's vocal range is so huge,
Yeah.
uh, and her transitions from the different registers of her voice is so superb, and the speed and agility is incredible. And they're both good singers, and they both do the job. They're both totally successful. But if you go into the really fine details of, what Mariah can do with her voice compared to Kylie, Mariah is the stronger vocalist.
Absolutely. Look, I don't think any Kylie fan would begrudge that. Final question, Georgina. Over the years, Kylie, she's very openly worked with some of the world's best and well-known vocal coaches. It's a bit like exercise for her, particularly when she's preparing for tour. If you were her vocal coach, what advice would you have for Kylie Minogue?
Well, I would probably work on keeping her range as open as possible because the older you get, the more difficult it is to keep that range, and also having different textures to your voice. Another big thing the older you get is that the vibrato naturally increases. You end up with a slower vibrato. So I'd probably work on onsets, making sure that vibrato's not slowing down too much, and that she keeps her range open. And stamina, that's a big one because she loves to tour. She loves to, you don't just do 2 songs in a show, you do, an hour and a half. So, stamina wise, I would just ensure that she's taking care of her voice so she can sing for a long length of time.
Mm. She's still got a fantastic voice. I've got to say, though, during the golden era, her voice has become a lot more like what the fans would know Danny's to be. There's a break in it, and she's quite proud of it. She doesn't try to hide it. There's actually this natural. You've probably got the technical term, but it sounds almost like a break or a crackle to
Yeah.
it, almost like she's been singing for a lot of years, which she has. It's not unpleasant at all, but that's just something me as a fan I really noticed during Golden when she was singing some of the ballads like Radio On and Sincerely Yours, things like that.
Yeah, it's something that all singers have. We have, breaks in our voice. But in the earlier years where even I was taught to smooth out the transitions, make sure that all your bridges are super smooth so that, they're not noticeable. But as you develop in your career, you want to have something a bit more distinctive about your voice that makes it you. And you learn a little bit more about where your breaks are and how you can express them. A great example is Linger by the Cranberries. The way she almost yodels on the linger moments. And Kylie knows where her break is now, and she's just trying to just explore it a little bit more. It's not like her voice is deteriorating because she could quite easily sing through it. It's just she wants to use it a bit more and make her voice distinctive.
It's in her speaking voice too. Georgina, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I really mean this. I feel like because of your channel that you're my friend. Like, I watch you every couple of days just while I'm getting ready or walking around the house. I know you don't know me from a bar of soap, this Australian guy who couldn't get the technology working. But honestly, it's been a real joy talking to you tonight. And thank you so much for being so not critical of Kylie, because Kylie fans can get a little bit defensive, and you've been lovely.
Oh, yeah, the fans do get very defensive. Oh, on Twitter, I can tell you some of the things I get. If you say one
Oh,
bad thing
really?
about a singer, oh my goodness.
Not just about Kylie, though, right? Any of the fan groups, right?
Yeah, if you say one small thing, well, I don't like this singer, the world goes crazy. So it's just, for me, it's about being honest. I think that's the important thing, and coming from a good place. I'm never ever putting any singers down, but I do know, their limitations and try to explain that as best I can. But thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely, and we should maybe catch up again in the future.
I would absolutely love that, Georgina. You have a fantastic night. Thanks again.
All right, take care.